considering the situation that we are in right now, COVID-19, a pandemic, and there's a lot of uncertainty that is involved related to this pandemic. The lockdown has made us very edgy, we don't know what is going to happen, and that has led to a lot of fear and anxiety in us. For students, you don't know what is going to happen with regards to your exams. Will you be able to answer the exams? Whether you will be able to come to college and answer the exams? Whether exams will be held taking into consideration what was already studied? All so many things running into your mind. Will you be able to revise or study again? If you've forgotten some of your things. So keeping all of these factors in mind, the presentation that I have designed today is to give you an insight into why meditation is important for you as students, and why you should practice meditation hopefully every day. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and share screen. So to begin with, I'll talk about a brief description of meditation. I'll talk about the origins of meditation. I'll talk about what are the different types of meditation, how meditation changes the brain, what does it mean in terms of benefits for you as an individual, maybe as an adult, working adult, or as a student, a few tips to meditate, and hopefully, if we have time, a short 5 to 10 minute practical of the technique. Okay, I would like to bring your notice to this picture that you see. Okay, and what do you see in this picture? There is a scenery of a girl sitting cross-legged, basically the most popular position considered for meditation. And she's closed her eyes, and there is a sense of calm that you see on her face. You also see in the background the beach. Okay, a lot of people, especially Goans, find tranquility and peace around the beach. The sound of the waves are supposed to be soothing sounds naturally. But what else do you see in this picture? I see that there is no difference between the background, as in between the beach where this lady is sitting and meditating, and the lady herself. The two have actually merged together as one, basically indicating that meditation ultimately leads to uniting with the universe, where you are the universe and the universe is you. So let us see now what actually is meditation and how to go about with it. For those who actually practice meditation, experts will say or will describe it as a way of life. And when I say way of life, what I mean to say is that it's as normal as taking a breath. It's as normal as having your food every single day. You do not forget to eat your food. You do not forget to breathe. If you forget to breathe, you won't live. So therefore, experts who practice this every day consider it to be a way of life. It's also considered to be a discipline because of the amount of research that is involved in the faculty of psychology and other sciences as well. There's lots of research being done on meditation and its importance and how it impacts your body and mind. And therefore, it is considered as a discipline. But for the majority, people consider meditation as a practice which involves techniques such as mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is basically when you pay attention or focus your attention to the present moment. We'll talk about it a little later. Focusing your attention on a particular object, such as a candle, maybe, or a dot on the wall, or it could be an abstract art, but focusing your concentration on that object. Focusing your attention on a thought. For example, you could be focusing on who is God? Does God exist? Where is he? Or is God even a she? Who am I? What is my existence? So there are so many things that you can actually thought that you can pay attention to while meditating. Or you can focus your attention on an activity. For example, dance. Many people find get a lot of peace and calm when they are practicing their dance. So activity is one. Meditation is actually a little different from yoga. Many people talk of yoga and meditation as, they use them synonymously. But yoga is derived from a Sanskrit word called yug, root, which means to unite. And the ultimate aim of yoga is to unite the human being with the Almighty. And there are different types of yoga. And one of the most prominent kind and one of the most popular kind that is practiced by people is called Ashtanga Yoga, which literally means 8 limbs. Ashta means 8, Anga means limb. And meditation is the seventh of those 8 limbs. The rest or the remaining are, you have Yama, which basically talks of restraints and moral disciplines or moral vows, such as uh, maintaining truthfulness, being kind to others. Okay, you have the second one is Niyama, which basically talks about certain positive duties or observances like maintaining cleanliness, maintaining contentment, or studying about spiritual texts. The third is asana, which involves uses of positions like Padmasan, the one that you see in the picture here. You have Shrishasan. You have Chakrasan. Chakrasan is where you go on all fours and lift your back up, so your back is completely arched. Okay. Then the fourth is pranayam. Pranayams are basically your breathing techniques, breathing exercises. Okay, prana means life. Now, there are different kinds of breathing techniques. I'll just name a few. You have Kapalbhati, you have Alam Vilam, you have Brahmari, which is, a humming sound, and you have Brahmastra, which in which you breathe heavily. The next kind or the next limb is Pratyahara. Pratya means senses, and so literally means withdrawal of your senses, where you cease to use your senses to perceive what is happening around you. Followed by Dharana. Dharana means concentration. The seventh is meditation. Now, concentration, meditation, it is again used synonymously, but you have to keep in mind that when you're practicing Ashtanga Yoga, which not everybody does and it's very difficult to practice, concentration is the first step to meditation. Now, meditation would actually mean to train your mind to be calm. Okay, and the last is Samadhi. Samadhi means bliss or enlightenment. Enlightenment is knowledge of everything. And this is basically what Gautam Buddha had experienced when he practiced, when he meditated in the forest for decades, for years. Ultimately, he reached enlightenment. So, why do we practice meditation then? When we practice meditation, we would achieve mentally clear, an emotionally calm, and stable state of self. Now, you know, hopefully, that when you have to be making a decision, you can't be making a decision in a fit of rage or in a fit of anger. It will always turn out to be a wrong decision. Preferably, people say don't take a decision right now. You're not in the right frame of mind. What does that mean? It means you're emotionally unstable. It means right now you are basically taken over by your emotions, and therefore you might not make the right decision. And to make the right decision, you need to be calm. You need to be stable. It is often difficult to define meditation. Now, whatever I have spoken of meditation just now are all descriptions of meditation. They're not definitions of meditation. It is difficult because meditation tends to differ from tradition to tradition, so between traditions and within traditions itself, religious traditions. Now, and for an example of a difference between tradition, Buddhists and Hindus would practice meditation very differently. To give you an example of a difference within tradition, in Hinduism, you would have different kinds of meditation. One, which, for example, involves the use of mantra, and the other, which involves the use of yoga, the niyamas, the yama, and all of these other 8 points that I spoke of. That is the reason why it is extremely difficult to define meditation. Moving on to the origins of meditation. Meditation has gained a lot of popularity in the recent past in the West. And you see a lot of these foreigners, people from the West, talking about meditation, promoting meditation, and they have understood the importance of meditation. No doubt, meditation has its origin in the West as well, but majorly, meditation is of prehistoric origin and has been developed in India when sages and gurus practiced dhyan. Dhyan again means meditation, which is basically training of the mind to be calm. Now, the oldest documented evidence of meditation in the Indian subcontinent are in the form of wall arts. Wall arts, like the ones that you see in the picture, dating back to 5000 to 3500 BCE, before Common Era. And written evidence has been documented from 1500 BC onwards. uh, it is been mentioned in the Vedas also. It is been mentioned in different books of religion. Okay, throughout history, you will find a lot of text about meditation, especially with the religious context. To name a few, you have meditation in Christianity, you have meditation in Islam, in Hinduism, in Jainism, in Buddhism, Taoism, Judaism, Sikhism, just a few to name. Moving on to the types of meditation, there are different kinds of meditation. Okay, whatever I'm going to be talking about is one kind, but then you could have a combination of these kinds of meditation as well. And some things might be, I might have not mentioned them on the slide, but these are just a few popular ones that I got a hold of and I'm aware of. So the first kind is guided meditation, in which there is an individual who guides your body and mind into deep relaxation through mental imagery and spoken words. So what happens here is that there is an individual who guides you basically and asks you to tense different parts of your body, different body muscles, and relax them. At the same time, there is a bit of visualization used. The second kind is mindful meditation, which is where an individual, the one who's practicing meditation rather, focuses on the present moment. Now, how do you focus on the present moment? Is by watching your natural breath, the natural rhythm of your breath, okay, and naturally occurring thoughts. It is often believed that when you're meditating, you should block out whatever thoughts that come to you. But I think it is more important that you let you let the thoughts flow, and there should be no blocking, because if you let everything be blocked and closed and not freely flowing, then it doesn't serve the purpose. Then you're not letting go of all of your inhibitions, you're holding on to something, and the purpose of meditation basically is to let go and not hold on to things. Mantra meditation, in which a word or a series of words is repeated over and over again, either silently or out aloud. uh, Transcendental meditation is also another kind of meditation that uses a mantra to focus on. Now, how these mantras are basically given is that there is a guru, and based on your individual nature, based on your individual personality and self, there is a mantra that has been assigned to you. and instructions are given how you should say the mantras or do the jap. The instructions have to be followed exactly how they are given, because then the mantra has to resonate with your nature. Otherwise, it is believed that it will not work. An example of mantra could be, if you'll probably see or hear people chanting the word Om every time loudly. That is because when you chant the word Om, it basically relaxes all your vitals. And when your vitals are relaxed, your brain, makes or creates or releases hormones that help you to calm yourself down. Moving on. Energy is a kind of meditation which uses a combination of specific breathing patterns and specific visualizations, both practiced together. Breathing patterns like techniques like the ones I've mentioned, I will just briefly show you once we are done with the presentation what are the different breathing techniques, so you have an understanding. Okay. Moving on to Kundalini Yoga, which is a very powerful form of meditation which uses a combination of mantras, for example, Om, or other strings of words. It also uses mudras. Mudras are, hand movements, hand postures, which depict different things in the universe, and also sometimes involves movements. So slow, very slow movements of your body. It could also be in the form of asanas, okay, different positions that you would take, make your different positions that you would take rather, along with some very peaceful music. Okay, this is a very powerful form of meditation. And the last is breathing, which basically means you use different breathing techniques which are repeated over and over again, and often also includes words or numbers to assist. Now, this is not really necessary, but just breathing pranayams, breathing techniques are good enough. So, science and especially psychology, other sciences basically confirm what every meditator already knows, and that is meditation is good for your body and your soul. You must have read a lot of information about meditation. People talk about it now, especially during the lockdown, because you might be, going through a lot of stress. A lot of videos are being shared on how to deal with stress, and the most popular kind are videos on meditation and how meditation helps you. So let's take a look at how what science has to say and how meditation actually changes your brain. So the first part of the brain that meditation actually changes is called the hippocampus, which is where all your learning takes place. All the tools that you use for your cognitive abilities are found here, including emotional regulators, which basically deal with self awareness and empathy. Research has shown that the cortical thickness of the hippocampus grows in volume, basically. So what that means is that gray matter, the density of gray matter in your brain also increases. Gray matter, the main function of gray matter basically is to route sensory and motor stimulus to the interneurons which are present in your central nervous system, so that there is a response which is created through a chemical synapse activity. So that means when your hippocampus is larger, it simply means that your learning ability also grows. Okay, because there is lots more that is coming in, and there is lots more that is being routed from one place to another. The second is pons. Pons are an important part of the brain where many neurotransmitters which help to regulate brain activity, different kinds of brain activity, are produced. Now this is located in the middle of your brainstem. So your brainstem is in the back, okay, and this is located right in the middle of there. It is involved in a great number of essential functions such as sleep, facial expressions, and processing sensory inputs. And research has shown that uh, the pawns are strengthened during meditation, and that means your sleep is improved. That means that that whatever you see, okay, whatever sensory input you get from your environment is better processed. That means you have a better understanding of what is happening around you. The amygdala is another part of the brain which basically deals with feelings of anxiety, fear, and general stress. So when you feel upset, sorry, when you feel stressed, when you feel fearful, this is the part of the brain that is actually active at the time. And what meditation does with the amygdala is amazingly it shrinks the amygdala. So the smaller the amygdala, the lesser the fear, the lesser the stress, the lesser the anxiety. Now, that does not necessarily mean that the amygdala would start increasing in size if your level of stress increases. However, it has been found among children who have anxiety, okay, who suffer from anxiety, their amygdala is actually larger than the than people who do not suffer from anxiety disorder. Okay, people who practice meditation on a regular basis, it has been seen that their amygdala is smaller than the ones who do not practice meditation. The posterior cingulate, basically, which is located near the middle of the brain's cortex, and it is believed, might not be proved, but it is believed to play a role in human awareness, in wondering of thoughts, in self relevance, in memory retrieval, and even pain recognition. So, it has been found that meditation makes this posterior cingulate stronger and larger, okay, which means that then memory retrieval is better, which means that self recognition, self relevance, there is a better sense of self, okay. The temporoparietal junction, basically this temporoparietal junction lies between the temporal lobe and the parietal lobe, and what it deals with is the fact that uh, we as individuals would like to think of ourselves as empathetic, humane, just people with a lot of compassion. We think that we have a lot of compassion with others. We may. And why we have it is because when you meditate, it has been found that this particular organ, okay, this particular junction is stronger. It has been found that when we feel empathy, this particular junction or area of the brain lights up. So, a stronger temporoparietal junction, along with other benefits of meditation, such as reduced stress, reduced fear, or reduced anxiety, will actually, in essence, help us to become the better people that we aspire to be, or the good people that we aspire to be. So, that means keeping all of these factors in mind, these are the benefits that meditation would give you. You have reduced stress, you would have controlled your anxiety, emotional health is taken care of, there is enhancement of self awareness, your attention span is longer, it reduces age related memory loss, kindness may be generated, you would be able to fight addictions, sleep is improved, pain can be controlled too, for up to at least 90%. It has been reported that meditation actually helps to control 90% of your pain. Decreases blood pressure, of course, a better brain, and it also helps to fight the signs of aging. Now, all of these factors, except the last one, benefits, sorry, except the last one, can be explained by talking about parts of the brain and this and that and what happens. But helps fight aging, it's simple. The connection is simple. If you have less stress, if you're someone who doesn't feel as much anxiety as others, if you're someone who can manage your fears, if you are someone who can control yourself, if you are someone who is compassionate, okay, who is kind to others, who feels a lot of love and who's content and happy most of the time, automatically that has an impact on your aging as well. So you see people who are bogged down and stressed, they'll have wrinkles, their hair grays. So these signs are reduced when you practice meditation on a daily basis. Excuse me. So let me share with you a few tips to meditate. Something that I practice in the beginning and something that will be useful for first time meditators. First is you need to choose a spot which you are comfortable in, okay, which is free of distraction. It could be your balcony, it could be your bedroom, it could be a place which is open space where there's a lot of greenery around. Okay, so whatever place that you're comfortable, the important point is that you should be comfortable in that place. You need to set a timer. As a regular meditator, I would not really recommend setting a timer, because one of the important aspects of meditation is that you shouldn't expect anything. Now, when you set a timer, what generally would happen is that you're probably going to also distract yourself and say, "Arey, will the timer go on now? Will the timer go on now? What is going to happen? How long is it? How long is it?" So that is one factor where the timer can actually distract you. But for beginners, you might not know how long to sit. So there, a timer can help you regulate how long you should sit for meditation, or how long you can increase, and all of those things to avoid distractions. Just to remember, when you set a timer, that timer should, when the alarm goes off, the tone that you select for your alarm to go off should be very soft and should be very soothing. It shouldn't be one that will suddenly, knock you back, and you'll be all startled and everything, right? So just keep that in mind. Sit in a comfortable position. Now, the position that you see in this picture is called the Padmasana position, or the open lotus position, where uh, the individual sits straight up, okay, with the palms facing placed face up on the thighs, and the index finger and the thumb touching, legs folded. Now, sometimes it may not be possible that everybody can sit in that cross leg position. However, if you're comfortable sitting on a chair, that's fine. Okay, it is important that you are comfortable, but it is also important that your back is straight and that you're not hunched. So if you feel the need to rest your back on the chair, backrest of the chair, or on a wall, you can, but you have to make sure that your back is straight. Close your eyes, and you need to take a couple of deep breaths, just as a trial round. Okay, deliberate breaths. Okay, not your natural breath, but deliberate breaths. Hard breaths, where you have to, when you inhale, that breath that you take in should fill your body, right up to the stomach, should feel full, and when you exhale, you have to get all of it out. Once you take those couple of deep breaths, you then need to focus on the natural rhythm of your breath. Normal breath. How you breathe in, how you breathe out. How does it feel when you breathe in and when you breathe out? Feel, I'm talking about the feeling, not the thought, the feeling. Does it feel nice when the air enters? Does it feel, how does it feel when it's leaving your body? So you could focus on your natural rhythm, or you could focus on a mantra. Whatever technique you use, attention should be on that. Be gentle with yourself. And what I mean by putting this down is that as a beginner, many times it is going to happen that you will get distracted. There might be a thought that is bothering you, so you might automatically go to that. Maybe a test is not done, or I need to submit this, or this is something that has been I've prolonged for such a long time. I need to take care of this. There's so many things that are going to come to your mind at that time that you sit and practice meditation. It is important to tell yourself and not judge yourself, but tell yourself that it's okay. You tend to get distracted, and slowly bring yourself back to focus on whatever it is that you were focusing, whether it is your breath, whether it is a mantra, or whether it is an object. Do not judge yourself. Take a few minutes to rest. Now, why I say take a few minutes to rest is because you would have spent a lot of your time and energy on concentrating on something. Now, once your meditation and once the timer goes off, you have to go back to your normal routine, daily routine. Even when you wake up from the bed early in the morning, when you wake up, you just don't get up and start doing all the things. You sit on the bed for some time. You might just lie and just relax, close your eyes, yawn a little bit, stretch a little bit, because your body is coming out of that state of relaxation and is now gearing up for the rest of the day. The same exact thing has to happen when you meditate. You might be sitting, no doubt, but you're still in that state of relaxation, and you have to come back and you have to be geared up to go about with your everyday chores. Repeat this process every single day. Consistency is key. It's important to practice meditation every day, because although in this 5 minute session that we are going to do in some time, you might feel nice, you might feel relaxed, you might feel calm. Imagine you do it every day for 5 minutes. It's not important that you sit for 10 minutes, 20 minutes every day. No, 5 minutes is good enough to give you and to give your physical body and your mind that relaxation that it deserves, so that you can go on your daily routine. So remember that you cannot control what happens on the outside, but you can always control what happens on the inside. Don't be afraid about your exams. Don't be anxious about your exams. Exams will come, exams will go. But what you need to do is you need to tell yourself and relax yourself and say, I can handle this. I can control this. I don't need to be scared. What is there? I will study, I will prepare for this, and I will go. You don't have to be scared of the pandemic. There's nothing you can do about it. Pandemic is there. It's not going to go away anytime soon. You have to tell yourself that and say, okay, I cannot do anything about the pandemic, but I can take care of me, myself, my physical health, and my mental health, so that I'm not affected by what is happening around me. What I want you to do is sit very comfortably, relax your backs, okay, but sit straight, hands facing up on your thighs, and I just want you to take a couple of deep breaths. I'm going to turn off my camera so that you're not distracted. Close your eyes. It's important to close your eyes because it reduces distractions. Okay, and take a few deep breaths. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Make sure that you take in all of the air, fill your body with it. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. I want you to just stay quiet for a minute and focus on your breath, only on your breath. Feel the breath. How does it feel when it goes in? How does it feel when it goes out? And relax. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. While you are breathing, I want you to focus on a thought, the thought of your existence. Who are you? And what is the purpose of your existence? Breathe in and breathe out. Focus on the thought of your existence. If you get distracted, gently bring yourself back to focus on your breath. Experience the quiet and the peace. Experience the calm. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Whenever you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Whenever you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Okay. We are done with the session, and I hope you guys. And just before we wind up, no, I'd like to say that if you felt that this was a good session, if you felt relaxed, if you felt calm, if you felt composed, if you felt rejuvenated, I think this should be motivation enough for you to practice meditation every day. If you are not, if you are a first time practitioner, you're doing it for the first time, then try it out. But it's important that you commit to meditating every day, because imagine you feel this, you go through this experience every single day. And if you have been practicing and for whatever reason you have stopped, then it maybe you can think about starting this meditation, practicing meditation every day once again. So to all the students who joined the webinar, thank you. To all the non-students also, thank you for joining the webinar, and I hope this was an informative session for you, and I hope this was also a very helpful session for you. We are done with the 4 days of four sessions that we of the webinar series, and I hope as students all these talks have been extremely relevant and have been extremely helpful to you. So all the best to all of the students who are answering the exams, and do well.
Thank you so much, Golda, for this session. I personally enjoyed it, and thank you everyone who joined it. Thank you.